Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Boost Sales with Competitive Pricing. My name is Jennifer. I'm the Marketing Director at Store Automator. Today, I'm joined by Gary, the CEO and co-founder of Store Automator, and Cardi, the CEO and founder of Street Pricer. Today, we're going to be discussing competitive pricing strategies and uncovering the secrets to increasing sales and winning more buy boxes. But before we get started, I'd like to ask where everyone is joining us from, so feel free to drop that information in the chat. Throughout today's webinar, we're going to invite everyone to submit any questions you have through the chat or messages, and we'll be answering them towards the end of the webinar. So thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to now turn this over to Gary to kick us off.
Thank you, Jennifer. Always appreciate your introductions and nice words about us. I'm happy to be here, and I'm the co-founder of and the CEO of Store Automator, and we will be talking about the pricing, competitive pricing strategies, and we have our expert here from our partner Cardi from Street Pricer. Welcome to our expert series, Cardi, by the way. And actually, with Cardi, I have a kind of a similar story. We started our e-commerce journey similarly as a merchant first, and we started developing some tools to run our e-commerce businesses. And this was like maybe 20 years ago. And then later on, we decided to make these solutions available also for some of the other e-commerce fellow business owners. And kind of our journey started the same, even though our story is kind of very similar and our path is similar. Cardi is actually 10,000 miles away from me. He lives in Australia, and thank you for staying late and sharing your knowledge with our audience today, Cardi. Sure. And actually, one day I received an email from Cardi, and he said that he's coming to New York area in 3 days, and he want to meet me and have a coffee and talk about e-commerce and talk about partnership opportunities, with our company. And I said yes. And then 3 days later, he came. We talked, and we really connected. And this was 3 years ago. And today, actually, we are doing a webinar together, an expert series, and it's amazing. I mean, think about it. He flies 10,000 miles away from where I am. We met, we really clicked, and we see there is a lot of common synergies we can create together. And then here we are. I mean, I would say it's a small world. It's not a small world, but it's a small world. And sure. Thank you again, Cardi, being here. So now I will start my presentation. Actually, what I am going to be talking about today is more about introduction to pricing, repricing, competitive repricing for e-commerce companies, and what kind of factors that may affect these pricing strategies. We will have some poll questions, which most probably Jennifer will be sharing at some point during this presentation. But please send your question through the chat. At the end of this session, we will have a part that we will be, answering, sharing our knowledge and opinions about the question. Please send your questions through the chat. So when we talk about pricing or optimized pricing or pricing strategies, one of the things that comes is the profits. So no matter where e-commerce companies run, always running a business is about profit and maximizing these profits. And the profits in a simple formula defined by revenues minus the expenses. But depending on the different industries, these expenses may include various different cost factors. And nowadays, with the increased inflation and the commodity prices, every cost item in this expense side is going up. So being smart about pricing strategies, being competitive, in the market with the, correct smart pricing strategies is very important. And especially in this formula, one of the items which is getting more and more important is the shipping cost. The e-commerce require items move from a point A to the point B, and that incur cost. So having this shipping cost imply into the profit formula and the pricing strategy is extremely important. And also considering this is such a dynamic environment, very fluid, everything is changing day by day, stock markets all around the world going up and down every day. It's extremely difficult to create a pricing strategy that include all these different factors. And myself and Cardi, we will be talking about that today. So as next, I want to kind of talk about the some basic terms which I believe is important in this context. So when the companies determining their prices for their products, they usually follow certain guidelines. For example, if a retailer is setting the product prices for the brands that they carry in their store, they should follow the MAP prices, minimum advertised pricing that's set by the manufacturers. Another term is MSRP. So manufacturers suggested retail price is used by the manufacturer to create a price parity across the market and to keep the profit margin at certain levels for all the authorized retailers of the brand. So before the marketplace economy comes in, and I will say this is before year 2000, before the 21st century, and the digital sales was not, at the levels right now. Traditional commerce relation in between the manufacturers, brands, to the distributors, and then to the retailers always follow certain markups in between each supply chain members. With digitizing sales, it creates an environment for the products to be treated more like a commodity in a stock market. And based on the demand and supply, dynamic pricing become a more common approach among the merchants. And in this context, pricing strategy can be as simple as selling product at certain static prices while considering various different factors such as seasonality, promotional discount, but also it can be using more complex formulas with dynamic constraints, the cost to come up with the best prices to sell that product at any given time in any sales channel. So let's talk about these factors and how they may affect the pricing strategies in a multi-channel sales scenario. So one of the first thing I always do is getting into a process, doing an analysis. So, and among them, among these factors, the market intelligence is the maybe the most important thing. So, among this intelligence, there are certain sources the merchants can tap into. So, for example, they can tap into their sales metrics that historically collected, during the time that they were running their business, last 12 months, last 24 months, and so on. And then there are also some solutions, like, for example, provided by Google, some real-time pricing benchmarks. So this can be part of the pricing strategies. Another thing is the companies or the merchants should be looking for is what channels they are selling at and what kind of qualitative analysis they have to make for that sales channels. What kind of customers are in their sales channels? What kind of products will be resonate with that customers in that sales channels? That's also an important factor that they have to be considering when they are setting their pricing strategies. And the third one I want to talk about is the supply and the fulfillment operations. And then related items in this operation is the location, the availability, and the cost of the items and the fulfillment. So let's dive into each of these factors and see what they are included. So the first one was the the marketplace intelligence. So good source of insights is the historical sales. And it's possible to obtain this historical sales from the ERP solution the merchants may use, or solutions like Stortometer also collect various different sales across different channels during a certain period of time and make it available for them to tap into and use in their pricing strategies. And the second one is something I really want to mention is the Google Merchant Center. So Google has a price competitiveness and bestseller reports available for the merchants that provide product feeds to their Google Merchant Center. And these reports are available for free to all merchants are participating in them. And Stortometer can pull these reports on a regular basis and make it available to be used in the pricing strategies the merchants may use. So the second factor is where the merchants are selling their product at, what channels they are selling at, and what kind of customers in each of these channels. So is these customers are affluent customers like the Amazon Prime members, which is over 200 million around the world, or they are more price-sensitive customers, mostly goes to some of the other channels like such as Walmart and eBay. So based on that, different channels may require different pricing strategies. In addition to that, what kind of product selection the merchants should sell in this channel will be defined by these customer types too. So is the products are unique products? Maybe Etsy is a good platform for that. Is the products are high quality products? Maybe a more affluent customer base will be looking for that. And also manufacturer of that high quality, high price items usually follow very strict MAP policies. So pricing strategies have to look at that too. Or they are selling products that has easy alternatives. Then competitive repricing is extremely important. And based on that, the pricing strategies may change. And the third factor that I want to be talking about is supply and fulfillment operations. So, where these merchants are sourcing the product, who is the supplier, where they are located, how much it costs, and how fast the costs are changing. If you consider the supply chain issues and supply, problems last 2 years because COVID related, the cost of items may change drastically. So merchants have to be consider all these different factors, and also what type of fulfillment options are available. Are they directly shipping to the customer? Are they drop shipping from the distributor? Or they are doing just in time, pulling the item from the distributor, and they are shipping the items by adding the products they may have in their own warehouse. So are they using their own warehouse? Are they using third-party logistic company? What is the cost related with third-party logistic companies' fulfillment operations? All of them have to be counted into the pricing strategies. And also, on top of it, how fast all these constraints, factors, and the costs are changing, and is there a way to automate all these processes to into a system so pricing strategies become a more dynamic, more fluid, more real time, and sense the market changes and act on that. So this is kind of what I like to talk about today as an intro to our pricing, repricing for e-commerce, and how companies can think about repricing in a general context, the e-commerce companies. But now I actually want Cardi to take over and kind of dive into this all this basic concept that I previously mentioned, and give more a little bit practical explanation and how StreetPricer can kind of help with automating and optimizing all this competitive pricing. And Jennifer, is back to you, by the way, if you have anything in between.
Thank you, Gary. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this over to Cardi.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you. Hi, Gary. How are you? So, hi everyone. My name is Kadi Chung. I am from Australia. I'm from Melbourne. Only, as Gary said, only 10,000 miles away, but it is a small world. Yes, I really enjoy working with Gary in the last 3 years because we have a common vision. Because our common vision is to build the best possible products. So I've had a look at many e-commerce platforms. I have a lot of time, a lot of respect for Gary and his team. The Store Automator platform, it is really sophisticated, it is powerful, it is easy to use. And likewise at Street Pricer, I love building the best possible product. So I always, to me, everything is like a car. I want to build a racing car that goes faster and faster and faster, keep pushing the limit, keep being at the forefront. So we started developing our repricer as firstly an eBay repricer, because remember years and years and years ago, eBay used to be the bigger one. So I guess in the eBay space, we are probably the undisputed number one in the eBay repricer space. So with Amazon, okay, we launched our product officially about a year ago, and we did benchmarking after benchmarking after benchmarking because I understood that to be the new kid on the block, we had to bring out a superior product. So that's why we spent a lot of time perfecting our Amazon repricer. But the partnership with Store Automator, it started about 3 years ago. We had some integration immediately after I met with Gary, but then we thought to ourselves, no, hold on, to be the holy grail of a truly integrated repricer with an e-commerce platform. So what we have to do is at a high level is that we need to be able to pull the data from Store Automator every day, periodically, synchronize it, apply a formula if we have to, do the massaging, and then after the repricing, we want to be able to push the data to the marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, and eBay, but also to Store Automator to keep the data integrity. So at the high level, this is the benefit of a truly integrated repricing platform, because if we do that, then we have the single source of truth, which is Store Automator. So you only have to enter your data, your information once. In Store Automator, we can put it across automatically. So that is at the high level. That's the objective of the integration. So let me go over to my slides. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about competitive repricing, as Gary said, a bit of velocity repricing, and the integration with Store Automator. Okay, so with competitive repricing, this is kind of like an executive summary, if you like. I want you to go away remembering there are 4 things that I want you to remember. Number 1 is catalog-based repricing. Number 2 is non-catalog-based repricing. And then your min and max price management and data integrity. So with catalog-based repricing, that is predominantly Amazon and Walmart and Amazon business. The focus, obviously, as we all know, is the BuyBox and fulfillment types, because with Amazon and Walmart, you have different fulfillment types. In order to succeed in that environment, a repricer has to be fast, has to be really fast, because the price changes are happening, like literally, within seconds. So you've got to have the speed and also have a very smart algorithm. Non-catalog based repricing, which is mainly eBay, it's completely different. We'll go over that separately. With non-catalog based repricing, the biggest part of the challenge is actually finding the competitors and also identifying and separating the noise from your real competition. So let's have a look at catalog-based repricing. Okay, so with catalog-based repricing with Amazon and Walmart, the entire framework is based on what we call a push model. It is sophisticated. So what happens is to the apps like Street Pricer, so Amazon would push the price changes to us. Okay, whenever another seller, whenever your competitor on the same ASIN, whenever they make a price change to Amazon, Amazon will push the notification to us. So we don't have to ask, they will push it to us. And because of this notification that happens to the tune of thousands and tens of thousands, different reprices depending on how they build the software, depending on the architecture. Some can respond within seconds. You see one class of repricer will respond in seconds. Another class of repricers, they will respond typically within a minute or two. And then there is another repricer that typically respond every 15 to 30 minutes. Okay. So with the buy box types, there are 3 types of buy boxes. The first one, probably the most desirable, is the exclusive one. That means you own the buy box exclusively. It's all yours, okay? And the second one is a shared buy box. A shared buy box is typically share between 3 to 5 sellers, typically on a rotation. Amazon doesn't tell you who else is sharing the buy box, but with our APIs, we can see it. And that's why with the StreetPricer software, we actually show you the percentage of your share ownership of the buy box. And then the third one is called a feature. If you have a look at the buy box and if you go a little bit further down, sometimes you'll see Amazon would say other sellers on Amazon. So it's not exactly the buy box, it's kind of a bit lower down, but Amazon, they still call it the featured buy box. So with the Amazon buy box logic, lots of theory, if you Google it, lots of people talk about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. We can see all the behavior of the Amazon buy boxes through our APIs. So what I guess what you should do is obviously be a good seller of good standing. If you have FBA and if you have a lot of stock in FBA, you tend to get elevated in terms of your chances. But what a lot of people don't realize is that if you price your items too high or too low, a lot of people think, I'm going to make it really, really cheap. The answer is no. If you make it too cheap, you actually lose the buy box by making yourself too cheap. Okay. And the other thing is, don't change the prices too often. If you change your pricing, like, I don't know, every minute or every 2 or 3 minutes, you think it's a smart thing to do. The answer is no. Okay, you lose your buy box if you change your prices too often, because Amazon says you don't know what you're doing. Okay, and the other thing is make sure that whatever prices that you set or you send to Amazon is within your min and max prices in Seller Central. Otherwise, your listing gets deactivated. So there are a couple of myths that people often misunderstand. How the buy box logic is that people often think that you have to be the cheapest to win the buy box. It's actually no. Time and again, it is not the case. Okay, you see that some seller would be significantly below the buy box price and they miss out. Okay, so being the cheapest doesn't necessarily mean that you win the buy box. Okay. It is not a race to the bottom because we, with our profit optimizer, some other repricers have that too. So what we do is that once you've got the buy box, we would try to keep nudging your prices up. Can you go up like by 10 cents, by 50 cents, by $1, by $10? So we keep trying while maintaining the buy box. So the moment you're not getting the buy box, we'll pull back and make sure that you always retain your buy box position. The other myth is people think that you always have to be new. If you're used, you don't have a chance. But no, some Amazon items, there's actually within the buy box area, there is a used and new. So you don't have to always sell a new item to get the buy box. Also, people would usually think that if Amazon is also selling, you have no chance. It is not true. Quite often we see the time and again, you can actually successfully beat Amazon at their own game. So it is certainly possible with smart algorithm. And you can't see other people's stock level of sales history. Okay. So that's catalog-based repricing for Amazon and Walmart. For non-catalog-based repricing, which is basically eBay, right? So eBay technology framework is different. It is not as sophisticated as Amazon. So with eBay, you basically have to poll. You have to ask eBay, hey, what, how much? So to give an example, right? If you go into, let's say, a drugstore, right? In a drugstore, you have 5,000 items in the store, okay? So in order to do what we call an auto price job run, we have to walk into the store and look at every item, like, one by one, only to find that 3 items actually had the prices changed. But it doesn't matter. With eBay, you still have to poll. Okay. The penalty of that is it is really inefficient, and that's why eBay reprices are never real time, because you can't. Imagine if you have, let's say, if you have 10,000 SKUs, right? Because usually the ratio between a SKU to a competitor is about 1 to 5. So for every 1 SKU you probably have 5 competitors out there. So you have 10,000. So every time we do an auto price job run, we have to we have to find out how much are your 10,000 items and all of your competitors, like another 50 or 60,000 of them. So as you can see, if you have a very large store, it can take hours or even days to go through one inventory cycle. So it's very inefficient. And with eBay, catalog practically doesn't exist. If there are 10 different sellers on eBay, you probably have 10 listings on eBay. But with Amazon, you only have 1. So with eBay, the biggest issue is noise. Okay, so with noise, what I mean is that with eBay, you often get a lot of items that are not exactly the same, or yours is a twin pack. Someone else is selling a single, or yours is a completely kitted up. It includes an extra battery and extra power supply, but the others don't. So with eBay, you need to be able to have what we call a 2-pass or 2-stage approach. So step one is what we call, let's do a scan and with the radar and do all the scanning. And when you bring back all the listings, we don't automatically reprice against them. We put them in a pending holding bucket called suspects because it's suspicious, right? Then the second pass is, how do we identify, either positively or negatively identify? So for the ones who have been positively identified as a competitor, then you auto price against those. So that is the critical thing in a non-catalog environment. You've got to be able to reprice only the ones that you choose to compete against. So which brings up the question about single pass versus 2-pass reprices for the eBay environment. So for a single pass repricer, they usually, whatever comes back, they don't think, they just reprice against them. You end up repricing against the wrong item. You end up losing money, losing margin because of that way. With a 2-pass repricer, you have the suspect stage and then the competitor stage. It's 100% accuracy. It's a little bit more work, but it is really essential in the eBay environment. So that, what I talked about, was referring to competition. So in a lot of cases, you won't have any competitors. So for example, your competitor is out of stock, or you might be a private label seller. You don't have any direct competition. You have the same specification, but it's not exactly the same product. So how would I know how to reprice? So with private label, whenever you don't have any direct competition, velocity repricing is the answer. So with velocity repricing, we don't look at your competitors because there's no point. Okay, there are no direct competitors. Instead, what we do is we look at your rate of selling, which means that we look at for this SKU, how many units have you sold in the last 24 hours, last 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, whatever time period you specify. And if you are not selling, usually the course of action is to drop the price until you start selling. Okay, so there'll be a point that when you start selling, maybe you want to hold the pricing at that price point because it's gaining traction. But on the other hand, if you're all of a sudden selling too fast, you need to probably put the prices up because you're going to sell out very quickly because you're too cheap. You're wasting margin. So with velocity repricing, it is self-adjusting. You're basically letting the market determine your optimal pricing. So it kind of fluctuates. We always have a minimum and a maximum, and then it's like searching torpedo. It would naturally find its optimal price point over time, and that time could be a couple of days, a week or two. So that's velocity repricing. It is really popular when you are a private label seller, or when you don't care about your competitors. Okay, I've worked with sellers, and they told us that I don't really care if I have competitors out there. If I'm selling 20 units a week, I'm happy. All I want is to move 20 units a week. I don't really care what they do. I don't really care how many units they're selling. I just want to sell 20 units of this item a week at this price point. So in that case, velocity is a very good choice. So pros and cons, it's much easier to set up. You let the market tell you what they're willing to pay. The downside is that it is not instantaneous. So if you're impatient, like me, it drive you mad, right? You go back and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, hold on. You ask us to look at your sales velocity every 3 days. It's not 3 days yet, so calm down. Okay, so for someone impatient as me, probably you have to manage your blood pressure, okay, with velocity. But trust the system, trust that curve, okay. Ultimately, the market will tell you what you should be pricing your product at. So that's the beauty of velocity-based repricing. Dynamic velocity. So we have a feature called dynamic velocity because someone would once ask me a question. Hey, I sold that item 25 units last week. Was that good? The answer is no. It wasn't good because you sold 35 units the week before. So we said, okay, let's make it run a bit better. Why don't we compare your sales velocity of 1 week versus the week before? So if you're selling faster and faster, okay, again, if you're selling faster and faster, put your prices up, right? But if you're selling slower and slower, ooh, something is not right. Drop your pricing to maintain that sales velocity. So that's dynamic sales velocity, which is a very handy feature, okay? So we also have what we call a sawtooth pattern. It's like the tooth of the saw, right? So the idea is when you drop your pricing to the minimum, you want to go back to the maximum and then come back down again, okay? You might want to jump all the way back to maximum, or you might just want to up it by 20%. Now, why do we do that? Because we don't want price stagnation. Price stagnation is bad, okay? eBay doesn't like it. Amazon, if you move your pricing, sometimes you could win the BuyBox because you actually move your pricing. Because I buy, okay, on online as well. If I see that item is always $80, hasn't changed for 3 months, I don't bother, right? It's always $80. But if all of a sudden I looked at it again, oh no, it's 110. So next time when 110 drops to 95, I better buy now, right? So it's funny psychology. The sawtooth pattern, you don't want price stagnation. It definitely works. Okay. So repricing tools, I love building them because it's a lot of fun. You basically have 3 elements. The first element is that you get your notifications or you get your polling. You're basically getting all your pricing data, together. So you want to know what your competitors and prices are. Okay, that's the notification polling bit. And then you calculate and then you auto price. Okay, so notification, a typical repricer would process tens of thousands of notifications per minute. Okay, depending on the architecture, some would process them in real time, which means you get a very fast response, like within a second or two. Okay, the average ones, okay, they batch them, which means that I'll get to it every 5 minutes or 15 minutes, and that's kind of like so. Okay, so that's the Ferraris, they reprice every 1 or 2 seconds. Okay, the slower ones, they tend to batch them. Okay, and then the other thing is when you are evaluating a repricer, ask the question to see if they can reprice when there are no competitors, because a lot of reprices actually don't work because Amazon, okay, it's based on notification. If someone changed the pricing, then you can react, you can respond, right? But what if no one changes the pricing? What if no one changes no one changed the pricing, but I still want to reprice because I have a new map pricing. I have a new mean or new max, right? Because my sales velocity is changed. So a lot of reprices actually they can't do anything if no one else is changing the pricing. That is not very good, not very smart. Okay, you want to be smart. Okay, so the other thing is a good repricer would guarantee you the burst rates when the notifications peak, because there are certain times of the day that the notification they keep flooding in. I think we can handle up to 40,000 EPMs, which stands for events per minute. Okay, I think we can go all the way from 400, 720, or you can all the way up to, we can guarantee that we can reprice for 40,000 events per minute, and we can burst in a 5-minute time interval. So calculation, you calculate your response based on the price rules, based on competitor, velocity, whatever you want to do. And also, as Gary said, fulfillment. Because fulfillment is important, because I'd say many merchants would have FBA and FBM. So you hold some stock FBA, you got some FBM. So what do we do with the pricing? Okay. So in a multi-fulfillment price rule, you typically a seller would say, I've got FBA stock, I want my FBA to win the buy box. So the running order is the first preference is for my FBA SKU to win the buy box. Okay. If that's won the buy box, okay, I want my FBM probably be the cheapest. So I've covered both bases. Okay. So I've covered the buy box and the cheapest, price position. But then if my FBA is out of stock, then you want to move your FBM up. Now I want my FBM to win the buy box because my FBA is out of stock. Right? So with multi-fulfillment, there are lots of things that you can that you can consider to your business requirement. Okay, and then finally, once you've calculated the thing, when it comes to auto pricing, remember we talked about data integrity. It's really important that you don't want your pricing to be all over the place. You don't want to just update Amazon, eBay, Walmart. You want to update Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and also simultaneously update Store Automator. Then the pricing is all in sync, beautiful. Okay, no headache. So that's the holy grail of what we're building. So min max price strategies. The key is automation, because with min and max price, as Gary said to you before, Store Automator can give you a lot of insight, a lot of data from the Google Merchant Center. They can tell you what the pricing should be. You might want to calculate your min and max based on that information. Right? You might want to calculate based on cost of goods. Right? But the idea is automation. The idea is Store Automator is a single source of truth. Once you've done it there, then you pull the data from Store Automator and apply the formula. Okay. In that way, it can be all fully automated. Because what you want is you run an e-commerce business, thousands of SKUs or tens of thousands. You don't want to be doing things manually. That just defeats the purpose of automation. Right? By the way, we support public feed as well. So that is part of the development. And Gary said, Cardi, you got to do public feed. Is it? All right, Gary. Okay. Okay. So min max price strategy, they're usually two schools of thought. First one is I'll go market based. Whatever the buy box price is, I'm just going to go. My mean price will be 5% below the buy box, the current buy box price. You can do that. Okay. You can be the cheapest guy, but remember, cheap guys don't always win. Okay. So don't try to be the cheapest. It may not, but you get the idea. It's market based. You follow the market. So very easy to manage. You have a very high throughput of sales. Okay, but you may not be making, but your profit margin could be average. Okay, so the other is cost of goods based. Some sellers would say, I need to make sure that I always make money. Okay, I always want to make at least $5 or $10 per transaction. So you can do that. The upside is you're always profitable, but you might slow down your sales momentum. Okay, pricing strategy. Basically, matching the whatever buy box or say the lowest is to kind of the neutral stance, and most sellers would say, I'm just going to match them. Okay, so that is probably, I'd say 65-70% of the time a seller, when they come in, they would choose to go for that option. Some go really aggressive, they go below. Okay, I want to beat everybody by $1. Okay, you can do that if you have the capital, if you have the, if you can play that game, you can. But for every action, there's a reaction. So if you drop the pricing, if someone else is using a repricer, that might drop again. So you can do that if you can play that game, but just think about the consequences. Okay. And the other thing that is not often used but very effective is hovering above. Okay, you'd be amazed if you choose the hover above strategy. Is I'm just going to be 1 cent above the cheapest or 1 cent above the buy box. Okay, you'd be amazed at how effective that is. So it's all up to you. Okay, depending on your product, your category, the profile, your supplier. Do you have the margin, or is it fast moving, slow moving? You can work it out, or we can work it out with you. Okay. And then the other consideration is, okay, if there's a buy box, you usually don't have a choice. If there's a buy box, you just have to win it, right? Because if you're not winning the buy box, you're just wasting time. You're just making the other sellers look good, right? So if you have a buy box for the ASIN, you have to go for it. Okay. But when there's no buy box, what do we do? Okay. So should we keep the price unchanged? Should we creep up to max? Okay. Should we go to max straight away, or should we switch to velocity? So these are the options that you have to think about. Okay. So when you set, it's not hard, but you just need to think about what applies to your business, or better still, okay, maybe segment your inventory into different product groups. One product group, I'm just going to go really aggressive because it is the fast moving. I want to always win. I want to be the market leader. Another product group, no, I want to maintain maximum margin. So you want to apply one price rule to one product group and another price rule to another product group. Okay. So the Holy Grail. Okay, Gary and I, we build this. I guess can be summarized with one screen. Okay. So, so this is the screen that you would come to if you choose to connect with Store Automator. So let me explain. Okay, so the first box there, that's the sync, last sync and next, next sync. So we synchronize pretty much every 24 hours. So basically, we do a synchronization, whatever time it takes. We wait 24 hours and then we do it again. Okay, so that's usually about 24 hours. And if you look, there's a little thing called the undo button next to the last thing that is called the rollback. Because when we build a system, Gary and I said we need to build a robust system, because quite often we'd say, oops, that synchronization yesterday, I got the prices all wrong. Now what do we do? Okay, that's okay. Hit the panic button or don't panic button. Hit the undo. We can do a rollback for you. So restore all the pricing. So we take a snapshot of what you guys were doing beforehand. So in order for you to roll back, so it's a robust system, and there's a next thing, so you always know, where you stand when the next synchronization is going to be. And then the next section is the section that where we pull the data in from Store Automator. So you can see at the top of that section, you can enter you can give us the public feed, okay, the little, whatever string that you have for the public feed. So if you give us the name of the public feed, we would do what we call a verification. We'll verify the content of the public feed. We look at all the columns, and then the columns will appear. So you can choose to map whatever. You can choose to map. You can choose to calculate based on what's in the public feed. And then the next section is link min prices. So you can so once you've done your public feed, and then all the columns will appear. You can say my link the min price to the min price in Store Automator, or you can say link the mean price to my cost of goods plus a markup, and then we can give you a formula to calculate your markup. Or you might say that, see the little plus sign there? So we let you add multiple rules because, again, we're building the best product possible. Okay, we presented this prototype to a user a while ago, and the user said, okay, hold on. So are you guys applying the same formula to all of my inventory? That's not going to work. Okay, oh, I get it. So yes, okay. So what we've done is that we can apply a different formula to different inventory groups, either based on brand or based on the tagging. So you can say that for these brands, okay, these 5 brands or 10 brands, apply this formula. But for these tags or something, whenever you see the tag, apply another formula. So that is part of the journey that we did together with Store Automator. And then this is a map pricing override. So certain SKUs you have in Store Automator, you probably have the map pricing there already. So this gives you the ability to map the map pricing, okay, whenever you see a map pricing, okay. And then this is similarly for the max prices. And then finally, this is a section where you push the pricing simultaneously back to Store Automator when you update your marketplace. So that is our Ferrari, okay, Gary? That's the Ferrari that we built together. So Q&A. Jennifer, should I hand it back to you? Should I hand the microphone back to you or Gary?
Sure, I'll jump right in. It looks like we have a few questions that have come in. Someone here would like to know, do repricer tools work for combo items?
Combo item meaning, is it like a kit or something?
I'm assuming yes.
So
there are maybe two steps in that. So combo items may need to be, the first step is what is the cost of that combo item? Something that Store Automator has ability to that calculation before pushing that information to street pricers. So for combo items, and then street pricer take over and do all the formulas and the magic and make that happen. I believe that may be the case, Cardi.
With the combo items, I guess if it is on Amazon, if there's an ASIN, then we reprice to the ASIN, right? That means someone else has got exactly the same combo item. But with eBay, we have to be careful whether the other competitor or the other competing listing is also a combo item. That's when the suspect versus competitor thing come in handy, because it would first appear on the radar as a suspect, and then you can either, there's a algorithm, we call it auto lock, because we use the word lock. It means we lock onto the item on our radar. Okay, so our radar can automatically lock onto the item if it meets certain criteria. If it doesn't meet the criteria, then you have to manually do the ID. So basically take yes or no whether you want to compete against the item. So the short answer is yes, but depending on how your competitor is presenting that product, you may or may not be able to auto lock. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And someone else has asked, what happens if other sellers are using the same repricer?
Oh, that's a good question. My best analogy is that you can give the same racing car to 2 different drivers. The result will be different, because your min and max prices will be different. Your price rules will be different. And the result, you're not going. Okay, if that's what you're thinking, would I go down? Would it be like a race to the bottom instantly? The answer is not, because quite often, he may not want to fight you, right? Or you may want to keep your margin. You might go velocity. He might go competitor. So depending on, you give the same fighter jet to two nations. The result is depends on who's the better pilot, right?
I think that there are many combination of algorithms or formulas can be written. It's almost like, the chef using the same ingredients, doing different,
Exactly.
food in another way.
Exactly.
Great. And someone else has asked, what is the best pricing rule range on Amazon?
The best pricing rule range on Amazon. A rule range. I'm trying to make sure I understand the question. The pricing rule range. Range meaning. Can we elaborate the question a little bit more? What does it mean by the rule range?
Sure. So I just asked them to clarify.
Yeah.
In the meantime, someone else wants to know, does the repricer update the prices by channel or through third-party software?
Not through third-party software. We update it by channel, so we can update the different channels directly, like Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Amazon Business, and also to the store automator is always by channel, not via a third party. Yeah.
Great. It looks like we have a couple more questions, but we're almost out of time. Someone is asking to confirm that Street Pricer can be integrated with Store Automator.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is, it is. That's the whole point. We spend a lot of time dealing with Gary. We spend probably what you see now, this version, I think we spent about 2 years of work. Okay.
Yeah, we think about different ways to integrate, and I think we come up with the most feasible solution to integration.
Yeah.
I mean, two systems already integrated and working for existing customers too. So,
Yep.
Mutual customers.
Yep. Oh, by the way, okay, may I jump in? Our customer service team is based in the US. Okay, so you don't have to deal with me who speaks with a funny accent. Okay, our service team they're in Florida, Eastern time, because the majority of our customers are from the US. So our customer service team is in the US, working in the Eastern time zone.
Great. And so it looks like we have one more question. Someone is asking, they have 3 similar eBay stores, and they're looking to have all the stores do repricing 3 or more times a day. Currently, they have about 100 items per store. Is this possible? And if so, how?
We can handle multiple stores, absolutely no problem. In fact, multiple stores, multiple size, multiple eBay size, multiple Amazon size. It's all multi. The stores can even be not in the US, so Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, Italy, there's no problem at all. With eBay, we can auto price up to 3 times a day. If you need to auto price more than 3 times a day, the limit is 6 times a day, but you have to talk to us and we have to enable it for you. You can't do it yourself. With Amazon, obviously it's 24/7 because of the notification. So whenever we see a notification, we respond within. On our website, we say under 10 seconds, but the average is about 1.5 to 2 seconds. So we are seriously fast.
Great, thank you. So it looks like we're out of time for today. Before we sign off, we'd like to thank Gary and Cardi for sharing your expertise. And I want to thank you for all taking the time to join us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Cardi. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay.
Thank you.